A very warm welcome to you all, and especially welcome to Fingerprint Cards. I'm with me Ted Hansen today, and we'll be doing this in English because of an international audience. So hope that's okay, and I'll leave the word to you, Ted, and then I'll come back with some Q&A in the end.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for your interest in Fingerprint Cards. So my name is Ted Hansson, and I'm the CEO of Fingerprint Cards. We are a global leading biometrics company headquartered in Sweden. Our solutions simplify millions of people's lives every day by offering secure and convenient identification and authentication. Today I will present the four main areas that we're acting in: mobile, which is our legacy business, and the new growing areas, PC payments and access. So before going into that, I want to go back a little bit and explain what happened in 2022 for us, Fingerprint Cards. We were on the growth trajectory 2020-21, and in 2022 we saw a severe impact on the business due to the lockdowns in China due to COVID-19. We saw that the demand from the smartphone segment dropped very sharply overnight as the lockdowns were enforced. I was there, living there. I was locked up for 72 days, so I was a part of this tough experience for the company. This also impacted the gross profit during last year. And we saw inventory build up Q3, Q4. We saw that our inventory peaked in Q4. We presented a Q1 report a few weeks ago, and the Q1 revenue was comparatively low, and this explains what happened. We saw that our channel start moving in Q3 and faster in Q4, but due to the overall uncertainties in the market and the fact that the interest rates have gone up sharply, we saw that many of our distributors and module houses, basically the ecosystem, wanted to go to very, very low inventory levels, basically no inventory at all. And during the first 6 to 8 weeks of this year, we saw very few orders coming in. And after the normal inventories were emptied out, we have seen a more steady and healthy order intake. So this graph here shows the weekly development of our order stock. And when we went out with the Q1 report, we said that Q2 will be better. The orders that we have received by week 16 for Q2 exceeds the total revenue in Q1. And we also said that we will deplete our inventory faster during the second quarter. And now we can see this materializing as we predicted. So that's where we are coming from. And if we look at these new areas, we call them access, PC, and payment, and I will talk about them soon. We have seen that they are growing year on year. And if you look at PC specifically, we saw a 300% revenue growth in the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter last year, even though the global PC shipments went down 30% at the same time. So as I said, we are all about growth. We have a strong position in our legacy business, the mobile. We have shipped 1.5 billion sensors to this market. And there are basically two parts of the market for mobile. You have capacitive fingerprint sensors, where we were one of the early movers and where we have a very strong position. That is roughly 2/3 of the market. 1/3 of the market is what we call under-display solutions. And here we were late to the game, late to the party, to be honest. But we managed to launch in volume end of last year with Xiaomi, one of our largest customers. And this actually increased our addressable market significantly. In value, these two markets are similar in size. The PC segments, we have a clear ambition of becoming number one in the world. We have launched with 4 out of the 6 largest PC manufacturers in the world. And as I said, we managed to triple the business in the first quarter this year compared to the first quarter last year. We're also developing our own MCU to create a complete biometric solution for PCs, which will help us to drive revenue, increase performance, and also climb the value chain. The third segment, access. So traditionally, the largest market has been door locks in China. We have had a very strong market share in door locks in China. Last year, it was a challenging market due to the lockdowns. We saw a very nice growth of these applications outside China last year. And a couple of days ago, we announced that we have received the first order with a value of more than $1 million from an access customer outside Asia. And there are certain segments here that we're focusing on that I will talk about in the coming slide. The last segment represents the largest potential for our company. This is the biometric payment card. And we have taken a clear leading position here. We have a very strong position with the tier 1 card manufacturers. We are also now finalizing turnkey solutions with the leading secure element manufacturers like STMicroelectronics and Infineon that will enable tier 2 card producers to produce high quality, high performance biometric payment cards using the same machines as they use today for the current card production. So let's dig into the details here. For the mobile, today we have, together with our customers, launched more than 700 smartphone models with our technology inside. And as I said, the major change here is our entry to the under-display segment with our FPC 1632. And right now we are putting a lot of effort into both expanding the presence within existing customers. So we have announced 2 customers that are using this solution in mass production. And we're also moving towards qualifying and launching with more customers. So a lot of activity going into this right now in the company. Another very strong focus area now is to return to profitability, of course. That's our responsibility as a company. So we are doing everything we can to optimize the cost structure, to optimize the projects we are running, and all the investments we're doing here. Also looking at the supply chain and so on and so on. In the PC, I forgot to mention that the PC market has 2 segments. We have what we call consumer laptops and enterprise laptops that are used by companies. And the market size in volume is similar between these 2. But the enterprise solutions is using a more advanced solution, which is called match and chip. And in order to be on that segment, you have to be certified by Microsoft. And we were certified in the beginning of last year. And that allowed us to enter this enterprise segment, which then increased our TAM significantly. And this internal MCU that we're working on is actually a very significant investment for the PC market. By having our own hardware for the MCU, we will be able to do a better system level optimization. We will make sure we have the best biometric performance. At the same time, we can scale off parts of the silicon, which is not needed for our application. We will also reduce margin stacking because we're not buying it from a third party. And of course, we will have better control of our supply chain because we are ordering it from the foundry and we don't need to rely on getting the priority from a third party MCU. This is something that we are doing, strongly endorsed by some of the largest PC customers that we're working with today. And we will start the first customer projects during the second quarter now. If we look at the access, this is a quite fragmented market. In addition to the traditional door lock market in China, we see that the physical access market is growing outside China. There are more and more customers launching outside China. We also see there's a lot of interest in access card. So the technical solution is not very different from the payment card. There are also a lot of interest in different kind of logical access, USB tokens, FIDO tokens, and so on and so on. And in addition to that, we are see a huge potential in other applications such as remote controls and gaming controls, AR, VR headsets, and so on that we are focusing on building a strong pipeline in. No. Looking at payment, so this is a large, very, very large potential market. And we announced recently that we have shipped 1 million modules specifically for the biometric payment cards, not including the access card, only for the biometric payment market. We have been, or we are in 10 commercial launches around the world, which is the majority of the launches, and we believe we have taken the majority of the volume so far. In addition to working with the tier 1 card players, manufacturers, we have announced 2 strategic collaborations with ST and Infineon that I mentioned in the beginning. And this is a really important collaboration. This will allow smaller players, smaller tier 2 card manufacturers to produce cards with the same quality, similar cost structure, as the tier ones are doing today. And this is important because there are many challenger banks, fintechs, smaller banks that are using this kind of suppliers that would benefit, that needs to have this access to this solution from tier card manufacturers. So that is something that we are spending effort on now. Finally, I want to say that in order for the biometric payment market to scale, there are a few hurdles that needs to be mitigated or need to be addressed. One of them is that you need to register your fingerprint on the card. And in Sweden and Europe, more and more banks are closing their offices. And last year we saw the first bank allowing home enrollment, meaning you get the card in the mail and you can enroll, register your fingerprint at home. You don't need to visit the bank. This is a really important step to be able to scale. A second important step is, of course, that most of the launches today is opt-in. You have to pay, you have to ask to get the biometric card. We saw the first launch last year in certain segment from one bank. By default, you will get a biometric card. And that is, of course, how you really reach the high volumes. So we see that there are lots of investments in this ecosystem. We see that ecosystem, it's much slower than mobile, obviously, but it's moving and the investments are increasing. And this is a huge potential market for us that we are excited about. Thank you. I think I kept the time.
You did. Maybe we start with the non-mobile part or the mobile part and how everything is developing. So you had about 30% of sales in the non-tactile sensors to mobile phones in Q4, and you're to grow that to 45% this year's target. And at the same time, you do this while you have a mobile phone market which is actually recovering. So you will see growth there as well, meaning that you will see even bigger growth in the other segments. Explain a little bit how this dynamic works.
Sure. So in Q1, we said that 35% of the revenue came from areas outside capacitive fingerprint sensors for mobile phones. And we also said that by end of the year, we estimate that this number will increase to 45%. So you're absolutely right. They have to grow faster than mobile for this to materialize, right? So in this 45%, we include PC, we include access, we include payment, and we also include mobile under display. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
So this means that we are, relying on those segments increasing, and they will take 45% of the revenue, even though mobile will go expected to go back to more normal levels by the end of the year. Correct.
And I guess looking at the distribution of your revenues, you showed this chart where you had mobile was the PC was a pretty big part. So I guess is continuous growth of the PC maybe together with some volumes in the optic sensors. Is that the key for this?
So we have said that all these new areas that we call them are growing, but the ones that are growing fastest is actually PC, and mobile under display comes from nothing.
Yeah.
So percentage-wise, of course, it's a huge growth. But we also see growth in access, and we also see growth in payment.
And maybe staying with the mobile for a little bit, because it's interesting to hear what you are seeing in China in particular, what you are seeing the Chinese consumer, because you're so geared towards it. And there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of press about it, and there's lots of anecdotes. So what are you seeing?
So I think, I was living in China for a long time during the whole COVID. And during the first 2 years, I think it was very well managed. And there was very little impact on the economy by COVID. As long as you stayed in China, it was kind of normal life. Very hard to leave though, and even harder to get back. But during last year, something changed. There were a lot of lockdowns. There were a lot of people that were locked up for a very long time. And this had a huge, huge impact on the economy. So if you look at the mobile phone OEMs, you look at the distributors, you look at the module houses, they all cut costs, they all cut people, they all made huge losses last year. And that, is what hurt us as well as a company. Now we see that the tone from the government is totally different. Now, before, if you knew someone that had been close to someone that had COVID, you had to stay home. Now the word is very different. COVID is not dangerous. If you have a little bit COVID, you can go to work. So clearly there is now a stronger focus on economy. You know, it's a balance between economy and lockdowns or you know, COVID restrictions. And now the balance is clearly towards economy. So we see that the economy is bouncing back. People are traveling, people are out shopping. There are a lot of government subsidies to fuel spending, consumption. And I think the economy is turning into, you know, high gear. And we see that the channel is moving and it looks, you know, positive. But of course, it takes some time to recover. And more specifically, during the lockdown phase, we and our competitors built inventories because, you know, we are relying on silicon and the lead times are very long. We're talking about at least 1 quarter. So we kept receiving silicon while we were locked up. And we are still, you know, chewing off that. And as I said, it's going faster now. But when there is so much inventory, of course, there is also price pressure, right? So over time, we expect that the demand will go back to the historical numbers for mobile phones. And we expect that the margins will increase or improve gradually throughout the year.
And looking at optical sensors, you're now talking about Xiaomi as one of the customers. You have also said that you have gotten one big order from someone who you're not named yet.
Yes, correct.
And how does this move along? Are there more coming, or what does the pipeline look like?
Yeah, it's very interesting because, you know, we have been doing a capacitive fingerprint sensing business with, you know, 9 out of the world's top 10 manufacturers for many, many years. And we have a very strong relationship. We are a preferred supplier, I would like to say. And of course, as a preferred supplier, they want us to also be in the under-display segment. And we were late to enter. Now, I think the door is open at many OEMs. But we shouldn't underestimate the effort it takes to qualify and launch with every OEM, because we are still relatively new in the under-display. But definitely we see that the door is open. As long as we provide competitive cost, competitive performance, there is nothing fundamentally stopping us from getting the same market share in the under-display segment as what we have in the capacitive. So that is our clear goal, to take a large part of this under-display market that is growing. But it will be stepwise. We have to go through this rather painful qualification process with every OEM, one by one, basically.
If we move on a little bit to the PC market, because as you said, I mean, PC shipments were down 30% year in the first quarter, and still you tripled revenues to the PC manufacturers, meaning that, I mean, the penetration rate must have, you know, exploded. What is driving that? If you single out one thing, what's the key driver of that happening right now?
Actually, the attach rate in PC for biometrics is increasing, but it's not increasing as fast as it did in mobile phones when they start to pick up. It will take more time to reach the same level of penetration rate or attach rate. PC is a more traditional market. They're more conservative manufacturers. It's a different velocity than what we have in the mobile phone industry. And the reason why we have grown our business so much over 1 year is because of the hard work we did last year. So after entering an OEM, in PC side, you need to prove yourself, you need to have the quality, you need to have the on-time delivery, and so on and so on. And then after 1 year, you can take a higher market share and you can spread to another segment, another product line. So PC takes several years within every OEM to grow the market share. So we knew if we play our cards well last year, we know we would get better business this year. And that is what is happening now. We are increasing our market share with some of the world's leading OEMs for PC. And we feel very comfortable about where we are, and we have a very strong relationship. You know, one of the largest OEMs in the world awarded us the best supplier, and that is after only 2 or 3 years in this industry. So we are definitely on the right path, and it takes a bit longer time to grow the market share, but then in return, once you're in, it's also a bit more stable. It's not like mobile phone. It's you know, it's of course it's not like going to the grocery store, but it's much more competitive, and OEMs are willing to take a risk and change the solution very late or give a very high market share to one supplier if you can meet the price and requirements, performance requirements.
I was going to ask you a question about cards as well, but I think our time is up and there's someone else coming into the room, so unfortunately we'll have to break there. But super interesting. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for coming in to listen.
Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you.